Welcome to this IELTS listening practice test. There are 4 sections and 40 questions in total. Each recording is played only once. You'll have time to read the questions before each part and check your answers afterward. At the end, you'll get 10 minutes to transfer your answers. Get ready with a pen and paper. Now let's begin section 1.
Part 1. You will hear Paulina and Roger discuss her internship at the Central Museum, covering tasks like cataloguing and researching, her interest in museum work, and Roger's plans to travel and pursue a master's degree. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 1 to 5. Now listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 5.
Paulina, how was your internship? I remember you were really excited about it when you started.
Oh, hi, Roger. Yes, it was amazing. Thanks for asking. I honestly can't believe it's already over. It feels like I just started, but actually, I was there for 3 months.
3 months? That's a pretty long time. So, what exactly did you do there?
Well, I worked at the Central Museum, mainly in the archives department. My tasks varied quite a lot. Some days I had to do routine work, like cataloguing photographs and organising documents, but on other days I got involved in more exciting projects. For example, I helped with research for a big exhibition on the history of the bicycle. That was my favourite part. I found it really fascinating to see how bicycles have evolved over time.
That sounds interesting. So, do you think you'd like to work in a museum full-time once you finish your degree?
I'm not sure. I've always loved museums, and this experience made me appreciate them even more. But I think, in the long run, I'd prefer to work at a university. I've realised that I really enjoy explaining things to people and sharing knowledge, so teaching seems like a better fit for me.
Before you hear the rest of the conversation, you'll have some time to look at questions 6 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 6 to 10.
That makes sense. Teaching can be really rewarding. What about right now, though? What have you been doing since your internship ended?
Well, I didn't want to sit around doing nothing, so I decided to do some volunteer work at the local hospital. I've been working there as a visitor.
Oh, really? What does that involve?
Basically, I visit patients who don't have family nearby, just to keep them company and have a chat. Some people are in the hospital for weeks or even months, so they really appreciate having someone to talk to.
That's really thoughtful of you. Do you enjoy it?
Yes, I do, but it can be emotionally challenging at times. Some of the patients are seriously ill, and it's not always easy to know what to say to them. But at the same time, I've met some incredible people and I've learnt a lot from them. It's definitely been a meaningful experience.
That sounds really rewarding, but also quite tough. Do you think you'd ever want to work in a hospital permanently?
I don't think so. I really admire the doctors and nurses who do that every day, but I don't think I could handle it as a career. I'd rather work in education, like I mentioned before.
Yeah, I get that. So, what are your plans for the summer?
Well, I've just started a part-time job at a supermarket. It's nothing too exciting, but I want to save up some money because I have big plans for September.
Oh yeah? What are you doing?
I'm moving to England. I'll be doing a master's degree in history at the University of London. It's a 1-year program, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Wow, that's amazing. London is such a great city. Have you been there before?
Yes, I visited a couple of years ago, but only for a short holiday. This time, it'll be completely different, actually living there and studying. I'm both excited and a little nervous.
I'm sure you'll love it. It's a great place for history students, with all the museums, libraries, and historic sites.
Exactly. That's one of the reasons I chose it. And what about you? Do you have any exciting summer plans?
Yeah, actually I do. I'm going to spend the summer travelling around Europe. I've always wanted to visit Italy, Spain, Germany, and Austria, so I finally decided to go for it.
That sounds incredible. Are you travelling alone or with friends?
I'll be going with a couple of friends from university. We're planning to stay in hostels and maybe try some couch surfing to keep costs down.
That sounds like a great adventure. How long will you be away?
About 6 weeks. We're trying to visit as many places as possible, but we also don't want to rush through everything.
That's a good plan. You'll have time to really experience each place.
Yeah, that's the idea. Anyway, I should probably get going. I need to do some last-minute shopping before my trip.
Of course. Well, good luck with your travels. I hope you have an amazing time.
Thanks, Paulina. And best of luck with your master's degree. I'm sure you'll do great.
Thanks. Keep in touch.
You too. See you.
That is the end of part 1. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 1. Part 2. You will hear speakers discuss the history of the potato, its impact on Europe, and its significance as a staple food and source of disease resistance. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15.
One of the most significant crops cultivated in what is now the United States is the potato. This vegetable originated in the Andes Mountains of South America, where it was grown as early as 5,000 years ago. The indigenous people of the Andes, including the Incas, relied heavily on potatoes because they were easier to cultivate, provided higher yields, and thrived in diverse climates. Unlike cereals, potatoes offered a more dependable food source with better nutrition. The Spanish encountered potatoes in the 16th century during their conquest of the Andes. Recognizing their value, they introduced the crop to Europe, where it was initially used as food for sailors. Potatoes quickly gained popularity in Spain and spread across Europe, first as a garden crop and then as a staple food. By the 18th century, they had become essential in many European countries, particularly in Ireland, Germany, Poland, and Russia. Potatoes played a crucial role in sustaining populations during wars and famines, but over-reliance on them led to agricultural disasters, such as the Irish potato famine in the mid-19th century. In the early 18th century, the potato arrived in North America, brought by Irish immigrants to New England. By the time of the American Revolution, it was widely cultivated. In 1812, potatoes were planted in Idaho, where the rich volcanic soil and cool climate made it an ideal crop, Today, Idaho is known as the potato capital of the world, producing a significant portion of the US supply. Across the country, potatoes are the leading vegetable crop, with an annual yield of 42 billion pounds. The average American consumes about 140 pounds of potatoes per year, including fresh, frozen, and processed products like chips and fries.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you'll have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20.
Potatoes are among the most versatile foods. They can be baked, boiled, fried, mashed, or roasted, and they are widely used in soups, stews, and casseroles. Additionally, they serve as the base for processed foods, such as potato chips, French fries, and instant mashed potatoes. Beyond versatility, potatoes are highly nutritious. They are a great source of vitamin C, potassium, fibre, and iron, while being naturally low in calories and fat. Despite misconceptions, potatoes can be part of a healthy diet when prepared without excessive fats or oils. Botanically, the potato belongs to the nightshade family, which includes tomatoes, peppers, and eggplants. The potato plant produces small white or purple flowers and inedible green fruit. The edible part is the underground stem, or tuber, which grows from the roots. Potatoes are cultivated using seed potatoes, small tuber pieces that sprout into new plants. As the plant matures, tubers form underground and are later harvested. The process requires well-drained, nutrient-rich soil and moderate rainfall or irrigation. As a cool season crop, potatoes are grown in many regions worldwide. They are usually planted in spring and harvested in autumn. In the United States, the leading potato-producing states are Idaho, Washington, and Wisconsin, though nearly every state grows some potatoes. Internationally, China, India, Russia, and Ukraine are the largest producers, contributing significantly to global food security. Beyond being a dietary staple, potatoes are a vital economic crop, supporting millions of farmers and food industry workers worldwide. The potato processing industry, which includes frozen products and snack foods, generates billions of dollars annually. Researchers continue to develop disease-resistant varieties and sustainable farming methods to protect yields from environmental threats. The potato's journey from the Andes to becoming a global staple highlights its agricultural and cultural significance. Whether consumed fresh or as processed foods, it remains a crucial component of diets worldwide. Despite changing food trends, the potato continues to be celebrated for its adaptability, nutrition, and economic importance. In conclusion, the potato is much more than a common vegetable. It is a key crop that has shaped history, economies, and diets for centuries. Its ability to thrive in various climates, provide essential nutrients, and support global agriculture makes it indispensable. Whether baked, boiled, fried, or mashed, the potato remains a beloved and essential part of meals worldwide.
That is the end of part 2. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 2. Part 3. You will hear Jack and Emma discuss their field trip to observe wild dolphins, covering the logistics, the dolphins' feeding habits, and their interactions with humans. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 21 to 16. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 16.
Hi, Emma. How was your field trip?
Great. Thanks, Jack. I'm glad we decided to go.
Remind me, where did you go?
To the coast to see wild dolphins.
Wow, that sounds really interesting. What did you do?
We watched them for a couple of days and we did some filming. I've got a video of them, if you'd like to see it.
Sure, I'd love...
Okay, I'll show you tomorrow. I'm just going to look through my notes for a moment. I've got a tutorial coming up. I need to make sure I'm well prepared for it.
So, what are you going to talk about in the tutorial?
Well, I'm going to talk about the aims of the trip. There were two main aims.
Okay.
The first one was to see how dolphins behave in the wild. We all know about their intelligence and their ability to communicate and so on, but we wanted to see what they actually do.
I see. And what was the second aim?
The second aim was to see the dolphins in their natural habitat and to see how they interact with the environment.
Okay. And what did you find out?
Well, we found out a lot about the dolphins and their behaviour. We saw them feeding, for example.
Right. And what did you learn about that?
Well, they were feeding on a type of fish called mullet. They work as a team to catch them. They chase the fish into shallow water where they're easy to catch. They do this over and over again until they've eaten enough.
I see. So what do they do when they're not feeding?
Well, they spend a lot of time playing. They play with each other, and they also play with objects. They often pick up a piece of seaweed and then drop it and catch it again. It's like a game to them.
That's interesting.
Yes, it is. And they also play with us. When we were in the boat, they came up to us and swam around us. They seemed to be having fun.
Did you get to touch them?
No, we didn't. We were told not to touch them because they're wild animals and they might bite. But they came very close to us and we could see them really well.
What else did you find out?
Well, we saw how they communicate with each other. They make a lot of different sounds and they also use body language. They move their heads and tails to show how they're feeling.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you'll have some time to look at questions 27 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 27 to 30.
That's fascinating.
Yes, it is. And we also saw how they interact with other animals. There were some birds that were feeding on the same fish as the dolphins. The dolphins didn't seem to mind. They just ignored the birds and carried on feeding.
That's interesting. Did you see any other animals?
Yes, we did. We saw some sea turtles, and we also saw a shark. The dolphins didn't seem to be afraid of the shark. They just swam around it.
That's amazing.
Yes, it was. And we also saw how the dolphins interact with humans. They seem to be very curious about us. They come up to boats and swim around them. They seem to be interested in what we're doing.
That's fascinating. So, what are you going to talk about in your tutorial?
Well, I'm going to talk about the dolphins and their behaviour, and I'm also going to talk about the environment and how it affects the dolphins.
That sounds really interesting. I'd love to hear more about it.
Okay, I'll tell you more about it tomorrow. I need to go now. I've got a lecture in 10 minutes.
Okay, see you tomorrow.
That is the end of part 3. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to part 3. Part 4. You will hear. The talk covers the history and innovations of the electric guitar, from its invention in 1931 to its impact on music and culture, highlighting key figures and models. First, you'll have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Good morning, everyone. So, continuing on from last week's look at developments in contemporary music, I'm going to talk to you today about the electric guitar. Now, the electric guitar is a very important instrument in popular music, and one of the major innovations in instrument design in the 20th century. The first commercially viable electric guitar was developed in 1931 by George Beauchamp. He was working at the time for a company that produced traditional acoustic guitars, and his invention came out of his desire to increase the volume of the guitar so it could compete with other instruments in jazz bands and dance orchestras. Beauchamp had seen the development of early record players and microphones in the 1920s, so he knew it was possible to convert sound into an electrical signal. He designed a guitar with a sensor to pick up the vibrations of the strings, and this sensor was connected to an amplifier and a speaker. The guitar he developed with this system was called the Rickenbacker frying pan. It was a steel guitar with a small round body and a long neck, and it was played on the performer's lap. The instrument was designed to be played in Hawaiian music, which was very popular at the time. It was called the frying pan because of its shape. It was very basic, but it was the first commercially successful electric guitar. Over the next few years, many companies, including the one Beauchamp worked for, developed and improved the design of electric guitars. In 1944, the Gibson Guitar Corporation released the ES 150 model, which was popular with guitarists in jazz bands. This was a hollow body guitar, which meant it was shaped like an acoustic guitar, but it had electronic components. It was the type of guitar played by Charlie Christian, who was one of the first musicians to make the guitar a solo instrument in jazz music. The next major development in the history of the electric guitar came in 1950, when Leo Fender released the Fender Broadcaster. This was the first mass-produced solid-body electric guitar. It was a simple, practical design, and it could produce a bright, clean sound. It was used by many guitarists in the 1950s and 1960s, including Muddy Waters, who was one of the pioneers of electric blues music. In 1952, the Gibson Guitar Corporation released the Les Paul model, which became one of the most popular electric guitars in the world. This was also a solid-body guitar, and it was designed in collaboration with Les Paul, who was a famous guitarist and inventor. Les Paul was one of the first musicians to experiment with multi-track recording, and he used the guitar to create many innovative recordings. The 1960s and 1970s saw a huge growth in the popularity of the electric guitar, and many new models were released. The Fender Stratocaster, which was introduced in 1954, became one of the most popular guitars of all time. It was played by many famous guitarists, including Jimi Hendrix, Eric Clapton, and David Gilmour. The Stratocaster had a distinctive double cutaway body shape, and it was known for its bright, clean sound. In the 1980s and 1990s, there was a trend towards more complex guitar designs, with more electronic components and more elaborate shapes. However, in recent years, there has been a return to simpler designs, with many guitarists preferring the classic designs of the 1950s and 1960s. So that's a brief overview of the history of the electric guitar. It's been a fascinating journey, and the instrument has had a huge impact on the development of music in the 20th and 21st centuries.
That is the end of Part 4. You now have 30 seconds to check your answers to Part 4.
That is the end of the listening section. You now have 2 minutes to review your answers before the test automatically moves on to the next section. Please take this time to check your answers carefully. Make sure all your responses are recorded in the correct places, and review your spelling, grammar, and formatting. Once the time is up, the system will take you directly to the reading section. Please remain seated and stay focused. The next section will begin shortly.